Welcome to The Explainer. Let's just be brutally honest for a second here. Is your current automation infrastructure actually genuinely ready for the complex, AI-driven demands we're facing in 2026? Or are you kind of just running tomorrow's processes on yesterday's architecture? Today, we're diving deep. We are breaking down the absolute definitive 2026 automation showdown between Make and n8n so you can see exactly where your business should be building its future.
Okay, let's dive into this. Take a look at this absolutely massive number on the screen, $87,360. That right there, that represents the actual, real-world annual savings that a single design agency achieved just by switching their automation platform. And the crazy part, they didn't fire any staff, they didn't magically cut back on their output. No, they literally just changed the engine running under the hood.
This incredible insight actually comes directly from a real-world scenario shared by a Reddit user who goes by JSReally. So their design agency scaled up from 1.5 million to a staggering 9.5 million monthly operations. And at that massive volume, they hit a brutal wall. I mean, they were experiencing crushing, budget-draining costs and just agonizingly painful error handling over with Make. But by jumping ship and moving over to n8n, it allowed them to handle 6 times the workload at a fraction of the cost. It completely turned their operations around.
To really understand how they pulled this off, we kind of have to look at the fundamental DNA of these two platforms. Make is a cloud-hosted SaaS platform, right? And it's really built from the ground up for non-coders. It features this beautiful, highly polished drag-and-drop simplicity that makes it just incredibly easy to get started. It's great for that. n8n, on the flip side, is a developer-first open-source engine. It is highly flexible, totally code-friendly, and it gives you absolute complete control over your environment, whether you decide to use their cloud or just host it yourself.
So the crucial point is, there's this fundamental pricing misunderstanding that is secretly blowing up small business budgets everywhere. Make essentially counts every single module run as an operation. So think about it like this. If you have a 10-step workflow that runs exactly one time, Make charges you for 10 operations. n8n, however, prices things by the execution, meaning that exact same 10-step workflow running once, that's just one single execution in n8n. So as your workflows get more and more complex, Make's pricing model basically multiplies against you.
Now, if you're out there thinking about migrating or even just evaluating the two platforms, you really need to know how the terminology shifts between these two environments. It's like learning a new dialect. What Make calls a scenario, well, n8n calls that an execution or a workflow run. The individual little steps that Make calls modules, those are referred to as nodes over in n8n. And those secure logins, the ones Make calls connections, those are known as credentials in the n8n ecosystem. Simple enough, right?
And this brilliantly illustrates the staggering financial divergence when you start running high-volume, multi-step workflows at scale. Just look at these numbers from our design agency case study. For 9.5 million tasks, Make was projected to cost them over $7,600 a month. Yeah, ouch. n8n's cloud instance dropped that down to about $320. And if you have the chops to self-host n8n on your own servers, you are looking at roughly $7 to $20 in basic server costs. Those tiny fractions of a cent per operation, they add up to literally life-changing money for a scaling business.
Which brings us to this fantastic quote from a deep dive analysis by Triumphoid. They said, "Make is where most teams start. n8n is where serious teams end up." And I want you to take a second and just reflect on where your business currently sits in this automation lifecycle journey. Are you just hooking up a few basic apps here and there, or are your automations actually becoming the load-bearing infrastructure for your entire company?
Interestingly enough, this exact divide is how artificial intelligence itself views the market today. According to Tracker's 2026 AI Search Visibility Analysis, Make scores a massive 92 out of 100 on general discovery. If you ask models like ChatGPT and Gemini, they will constantly recommend Make for its sheer ease of use and that massive library of 1,400 integrations. But n8n absolutely dominates the technical recommendations. Models like Claude and Perplexity consistently point technical leads and developers toward n8n because of its cost efficiency, that custom logic control, and its hardcore scaling capabilities.
But look, the absolute biggest shift we're seeing in 2026 is how these platforms actually handle artificial intelligence itself. It's a total paradigm shift. Make was essentially built back in 2018 for passing data in a straight line, right? You call an AI module, you get a response, you move to the next step. Simple, linear. n8n, however, has fundamentally rebuilt its entire architecture for 2026 to natively support autonomous AI decision-making. It's a whole different ballgame.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is exactly what this first-class AI architecture lets you build. With n8n, you aren't just sending basic prompts back and forth. You are building actual AI agents that can autonomously select which tools to use on the fly. They can connect directly to vector databases, and they can even utilize memory modules to retain deep context across multiple workflow runs. It's just a completely different league of AI integration.
And beyond the AI stuff, there's just the everyday reality of data transformation. If you've ever used Make, you know it uses these built-in functions that can honestly be incredibly frustrating when you need to manipulate really complex JSON structures. I mean, we've all been there, right? Trying to wrestle some massive nested array into shape, it's a headache. Well, n8n features a dedicated code node. This is a real game changer because it allows your developers to inject real native JavaScript or Python right into the dead center of your workflow. You can pull in npm packages and handle your data exactly the way you want to. No clunky workarounds needed. And then things break. Because, let's face it, in automation, they always do. In Make, you often find yourself having to manage error handling on a painful node-by-node basis. If you've got a complex scenario with 70-plus modules, setting up error routing for every single one of those is just agonizing. But n8n offers workflow-level error triggers, meaning if anything fails anywhere in the flow, it cleanly triggers an automated fallback workflow. It makes the whole system infinitely more reliable for serious production environments.
Let's move to and see how this builds into another absolutely critical topic for 2026, data sovereignty. Look, Make routes all your data through their US or EU servers, which is fine for some, but if you're in healthcare dealing with HIPAA or PIPA, maybe you're a law firm protecting solicitor-client privilege, or you're handling sensitive financial data under strict regulations like OSFI, FinTrack, or Quebec Law 25. Well, n8n's self-hosting option is a total lifesaver. It keeps your data strictly contained within your own servers, which keeps the auditors happy and keeps you perfectly compliant.
Now, if you're sitting there realizing, I think I need to make the switch, don't panic. The technical task of migrating away from Make might seem super daunting, but it's highly manageable if you just follow this exact sequential guide laid out by the experts over at Scalability. Step 1. Map your existing Make scenarios. Step 2. Prioritize them. Go from the simplest to the most complex. Step 3. Actually rebuild the logic using n8n's nodes. Step 4. Test them all in parallel using live data. And finally, Step 5. Cleanly redirect your webhooks and triggers straight to n8n. Boom, done.
To summarize this explainer, your decision basically boils down to this matrix right here. Do you have a developer on staff, and what do your long-term operational goals actually look like? Choose Make if you need speed, you have a non-technical team, and you really just want to quickly plug into their massive library of 1,400-plus SaaS apps. That's totally fine. But choose n8n if you are hitting massive scale, if you're building advanced AI agents, if you need deep code control, or if you require total data sovereignty.
Ultimately, you have to ask yourself the tough question. Are you building your company for 2018, or are you building it for 2026? Every growing business eventually hits that migration threshold, where simple automations suddenly turn into critical load-bearing infrastructure. So, I challenge you to future-proof your operations today before you hit a painful and very expensive wall of scale tomorrow. Keep learning, keep optimizing, and we will see you in the next explainer.